For years, people in the entertainment industry knew something about James Corden that his television audience didn't. It was an open secret, but it never made it to the headlines. Then in 2022, a New York restaurateur decided he was done staying quiet, and what he posted changed how the public saw James Corden. Today, his career can be summed up in one line: no one likes him or wants him. This is how James Corden's career went from being at the top of the American late-night show scene to ruins. But before the world came to know the name James Corden, he was just a young boy growing up in Hillingdon, West London. Born in August 22, 1978, he was raised in a modest household by his father, Malcolm Corden, a musician in the Royal Air Force, and his mother, Margaret, a dedicated social worker. As a kid, he showed an early interest in performing and eventually trained at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. His first real breakthrough came in 2007 when he co-wrote and starred in Gavin and Stacey, a BBC Three sitcom about a long-distance relationship between a man from Essex and a woman from Wales. Corden wrote the show alongside his friend and co-star Ruth Jones, and the two of them played Smithy and Nessa, the best friends of the title couple. The show was a massive hit in the UK. By the time its third series aired in 2010, Gavin and Stacey had become one of the most watched comedies in British television, drawing millions of viewers per episode and earning a BAFTA nomination for Best Situation Comedy. In just 3 years, it turned Corden and Jones into household names. But Corden didn't stop there. In 2011, he took on the lead role in a West End production called One Man, Two Governors, a physical comedy based in a 1743 Italian play. His performance was so well received that the show transferred to Broadway in 2012. And in June of that year, at the Tony Awards, James Corden won Best Actor in a Play.
Holding this, honestly, it just reminds me that there is no such thing as best. Honestly, I am overwhelmed.
It was the kind of moment that changes a career permanently. In 5 years, James Corden had gone from writing a BBC Three sitcom to winning Broadway's highest acting honor, and Hollywood was paying attention. In September 2014, CBS announced that James Corden would replace Craig Ferguson as the host of The Late Late Show, the network's 12:30 a.m. program. The announcement surprised a lot of people, but CBS clearly saw something in him.
Hello, I'm James Corden. I'm the new host of The Late Late Show on CBS.
Then in March 2015, just a few weeks into the show's run, Corden drove through Los Angeles with Mariah Carey, singing her songs into a microphone while stuck in traffic. The segment was called Carpool Karaoke, and it was adapted from a one-off sketch Corden had done years earlier in a UK comedy relief special with George Michael. And in November 2018, Corden pulled off what many consider the biggest booking of the segment's run, Michelle Obama.
Hey there. I hear you're here for a 145 tour and had a little time on my hands.
The Late Late Show won 4 Emmy Awards between 2016 and 2019, and as a result of that success, Corden hosted the Grammy Awards twice, hosted the Tony Awards multiple times, and appeared in major Hollywood films. Between 2017 and 2019, it was hard to find anyone willing to say a bad word about James Corden in public. He was everywhere, and for the most part, the industry loved him for it. But in 2022, that all changed. The arrogance problem. Up until 2022, Corden was a saint to most people, but people who had worked for him or around him had a very different opinion. One example is director Craig Duncan, who called him the most difficult person he had ever worked with. Duncan had worked with Corden in the challenge segment for the British sports panel show, A League of Their Own, and the experience stayed with him.
The most difficult and obnoxious presenter I've ever worked with is James Corden. And he came to a point where he had to read from a card, and he had the card up like that, and he was reading from it. And it was kind of a joke in there. And he kind of just like, he just looked at it like, that's not funny. He was late 45 minutes from his schedule, and I'd have had him done in 6. So, cheers, James. You got your way. Well done. Well done for treading all over my toes. I don't care. I'll get paid at the end of the day. And I hope I never ever work with you again.
He also pointed out the fact that James was careful not to be rude to celebrities. He loves them and loves leaning into them, and most of them have no idea what he can really be like. But there's one celebrity who has seen James Corden for who he really is, and that's Mel B, the Spice Girl. She also went on record talking about Corden's attitude, calling him the biggest dickhead in Hollywood. And on the Big Narsty show, Mel B delved further into her claims about Corden.
I think you always have to be nice to the people that you work with, whether it be production, camera guys, sound, lighting. We all work for the same thing, so you should always be nice.
I respect that. No more.
And he hasn't been very nice.
But it wasn't just celebrities like Duncan and Mel B. There were also accounts from audience members who attended tapings of The Late Late Show. Reviews posted to TripAdvisor described Corden having audience members he considered unattractive quietly move to the back rows before filming began. One account said after they managed to get in and were seated in the second row, anyone who was overweight, of Corden's stature or larger, were ushered into seats situated at the back. At one point, before things kicked off, they actually overheard James Corden say to one of his staff, "I don't want to have to look at him," implying that they ought to move the person in question to another other seat. Another person left a comment saying, Corden did not interact with his audience save for 2 individuals. He ran out even before the camera stopped rolling. Disappointing experience. Now at this point, James Corden's reputation as a terrible person was spreading quietly through the industry, but none of this had broken into mainstream coverage yet, until October 2022, when it finally spilled into the open. The Balthazar incident. On October 17, 2022, New York restaurateur Keith McNally made a post that went viral. McNally is the founder of Balthazar, the well-known Soho brasserie that has been a fixture of New York's dining scene since 1997. In an Instagram post, he said that in 25 years of running the restaurant, he had never banned a customer, but he was banning one show. In the caption of the post, he said, James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man, and the most abusive customer to my Balthazar servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. He then posted the manager reports detailing 2 separate incidents. The first took place in June 2022. Corden found a hair in his food after having already eaten most of the meal. He showed it to the manager, and then according to the report, said to the table, get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all our drinks so far. This way I won't write any nasty reviews on Yelp or anything like that. The second incident happened on October 9, 2022. Corden's wife had ordered an egg yolk omelet with Gruyere cheese and a side salad. The kitchen made it wrong. Some egg white had been included, so the dish had to be remade. However, the second time it came out, it had home fries instead of salad. According to McNally, Corden screamed at the server, you can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself. The server was shaken by Corden's outburst, but was still very apologetic. The story spread within hours, and cable news even picked it up. Within 24 hours, it had crossed from entertainment media into mainstream coverage.
Anyway, late-night TV host James Corden does need a little kindness in his life, is no longer allowed at one of New York City's trendiest restaurants.
Corden responded saying he hadn't done anything wrong, to which McNally immediately went back to Instagram to make another post saying, I wish James Corden would live up to his almighty initials and come clean. If the supremely talented actor wants to retrieve the respect he had from all his fans, all 4 of them, before this incident, then he should at least admit he did wrong. The Balthazar incident got blown out of proportion, and it went from being just a restaurant complaint to a verdict on the kind of person James Corden actually was. Desperate damage control. A week after the story broke, on October 24, 2022, Corden addressed it in the Late Show.
But we were like, that's not necessary, we don't need it. We'd had a great time. Even for me, it was too early to start drinking. So, but here's the truth of it, right? Because I didn't shout or scream, like I didn't get up out of my seat, I didn't call anyone names or use derogatory language, I've been walking around thinking that I hadn't done anything wrong, right? But the truth is, I made a rude comment, and it was wrong. It was an unnecessary comment. It was ungracious to the server.
But the response from people was negative. Most observers noted that he spent 5 minutes explaining the circumstances surrounding the incident rather than clearly and cleanly apologizing for his behavior. One comment said, you could apologize, or you could go on a 5-minute monologue about how you think you're not in the wrong. Also, Corden's apology only addressed the omelet incident and barely touched the first one, and people were quick to point this out. I love how he talks about the hair incident at the restaurant, completely failing to mention the rude comments he made then. McNally himself watched the monologue and wrote a follow-up post calling it contrived and phony, and what he said would be his final word in the non-story. He added, the actor will say anything to save his bacon. In the scheme of things, my opinion means nothing, but after Friday's interview and a second look at his fraudulent confessional, I've given up on James Corden for good. CBS did not release any statement defending their host. No network executive went on record. No publicist came out to push back or spin the story. There was nothing. It was just silence. Ratings collapsed and exit from CBS. Though all the Balthazar saga was ongoing, James Corden's Late Show was already on its way out. In April 2022, 6 months before the restaurant incident, Corden had already announced he was leaving the show. CBS had reportedly spent months trying to convince him to stay, offering deals reportedly worth up to $19 million to extend his contract by 2 more years. But he said no. On The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, he gave his reasons for wanting to leave the show.
I'm just leaving the show primarily because we're a long way from home, and we really want our children to know what it's like to grow up in London, to have a solid relationship with their grandparents, and that is time that you don't get back, really.
But there was a financial reality behind the scenes that the network wasn't publicizing. According to an investigation by journalist Brian Stelter, published in Los Angeles Magazine, The Late Late Show has been costing CBS between $60 and $65 million per year to produce, while generating less than $45 million in advertising revenue. The show was losing around $20 million every year. CBS executives were already talking about how they couldn't afford him anymore. They acknowledged that even if Corden had wanted to stay in the seat, there was bound to be a late-night reckoning. He would have faced a multi-million-dollar pay cut or painful staff reductions or both. The numbers were also telling a similar story. When The Late Late Show launched in 2015, the premiere episode drew around 4 million viewers. By Corden's final season, the show was averaging approximately 806,000 viewers per episode. That is a drop of nearly 80% from peak to finish. The show's final episode aired on April 27, 2023. Tom Cruise appeared, Adele appeared, Harry Styles turned up unannounced, and even President Biden sent a video message.
He's my friend, he's your friend, Harry Styles is here tonight! Hey, everybody!
Hi, mate.
Hey!
Man, terrible timing with this door thing, huh?
Yeah.
Because it's your last show.
No, yeah, I know.
The farewell was elaborate, but the aftermath wasn't. CBS did not hire a replacement host. Instead, the network launched a different kind of show, After Midnight, a music-focused late-night program hosted by comedian Taylor Tomlinson. It was canceled in March 2025. As of the 2025-2026 television season, CBS has no programming in the 12:30 a.m. time slot for the first time in 30 years. The franchise that had existed in that slot since 1995, across multiple hosts, was gone, and James Corden was the last person to hold it. The aftermath. Return to Britain. Corden returned to the UK in late April 2023. He had no job lined up, no television deal announced. There was no network project waiting for him. He was just there, waiting to see what was out there or who could pick him up. But nobody did. The BBC made no announcement. ITV made no announcement. Channel 4 made no announcement. None of the major British broadcasters moved to sign one of the most successful British exports in American television history. In January 2026, Daily Mail put out an article talking about how work has dried up for Corden, and no one likes him or wants him. People left comments. They called him rude and entitled, saying no one liked him before he became famous. Although Corden wasn't approached by any of the TV bosses, he worked on some projects. His first significant UK project was a stage play, The Constituent, run by Joe Penhall. It ran at London's Old Vic Theatre from June to August 2024, with Corden playing an Afghanistan war veteran in personal crisis, opposite Anna Maxwell Martin. Reviews were mixed. London Theatre called it an impressive stage return for Corden, while the Evening Standard found the delivery to be dramatically undynamic. The production ran its scheduled dates and closed. And then in September 2025, Corden joined Bobby Cannavale and Neil Patrick Harris in a revival of Yasmina Reza's play Art at the Music Box Theatre. It was a limited run. Variety wrote that Corden was a standout of the three leads and delivered a scene of rage that somehow doesn't feel showy or unearned. The review is respectable, but it is the review of someone proving they could hold their own on a stage, not the review of a man with hype, momentum, or industry demand behind him. Artistic failures and industry blacklist. While Corden's theater work was getting respectful notices, his film career was not recovering. His highest profile film roles during his peak years had both been disasters. Cats, the 2019 Tom Hooper adaptation of the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, was widely mocked on release and received all sorts of backlash almost immediately. Viewers left comments like, all the weird pauses, creative liberties, and genuinely subpar singing from the celebrity actors makes this feel like I'm watching a grade school recital. But instead of feeling sorry for those involved after every misstep, I feel legitimate embarrassment that this is the best a production with a movie budget could muster. Corden also appeared in The Prom, 2020 Netflix musical directed by Ryan Murphy, received mixed reviews, with several critics calling out Corden's performance as a gay character as broad and tone-deaf. Sorry, but him playing a gay guy ain't sitting right with me. There's too many talented gay actors who fit the role who are not getting booked because of their sexuality, but the industry is happy to earn the gay dollar. James Corden ruined this movie, honestly, and it's a shame. Since leaving The Late Late Show in April 2023, Corden's screen credits have been limited. He provided voice work for the animated Smurfs film in 2025 and appeared in a small role in a film called California Schemin', but neither project represented a meaningful film career. His production company, Fullwell 73, merged with LeBron James's Spring Hill Company in February 2025 to form Fullwell Entertainment. It is a huge deal, and the company continues to produce live events and premium content, but Fullwell Entertainment's day-to-day activity runs through other people. Corden is a founding partner, but he is not driving the company's output. Meanwhile, Carpool Karaoke continues to air on Apple TV Plus with Corden as an executive producer, but his hands-on involvement in the show has reduced significantly since leaving CBS. Financial reality. Despite being out of work, Corden is not exactly broke. His net worth is estimated at around $70 million, a figure consistent across multiple sources. His CBS salary reportedly started at around $4 to $5 million per year when he joined in 2015, and increased substantially with his 2019 contract renewal. Some reports put it as high as $9 million annually by that point. In May 2023, he sold his Los Angeles home for $17 million. Money is not a problem for Corden, but in the entertainment industry, financial security and career relevance are two separate things. Corden has made enough to live comfortably for the rest of his life. What he no longer has is what the money came from: a regular platform, an active television presence, and the attention of an industry that has largely moved on. Social media exile. At its peak, The Late Late Show's YouTube channel was among the most watched in the world with over 28 million subscribers. Carpool karaoke clips were being shared across every platform, regularly crossing tens of millions of views within days of posting. By early 2026, Corden's Instagram has around 6 million followers and is largely inactive. His public posts are infrequent, and the engagement numbers are modest. And while his own output has slowed, conversation about him online has not entirely disappeared. The Balthazar story is still regularly circulated in threads about the worst celebrity behavior. The pattern of online sentiment around Corden isn't the kind of explosive, coordinated backlash that tends to follow a true cancellation. It's quieter than that. He has not been formally cancelled, but when his name comes up, people always have not so nice things to say about him. Where he is now in 2026. As of early 2026, the Broadway run of Art has closed. There was no extension. Corden still has a Sirius XM podcast, This Life of Mine with James Corden, launched in early 2024 and has featured legitimate guests including Dr. Dre, Conor McGregor, and Julian Moore, but it is only available exclusively behind a Sirius XM paywall. There's been no announcement of a second season, no television crossover built from the show's momentum, and no significant cultural footprint from the series. On December 25, 2024, the BBC broadcast the long-awaited finale of Gavin and Stacey, co-written by Corden and Ruth Jones. The episode drew 12.3 million viewers on the night and eventually reached 19.3 million across all platforms, making it the most watched scripted television program in the UK since records began in 2002. It was a huge success. The one built on nearly 2 decades of audience affection for characters that Corden and Jones had created back in 2007. It was nostalgia, not momentum. And Corden has publicly said the show is finished and that there will be no more of it.
So last night, when it was finished yesterday afternoon, we'd already written the end, and so she just added in bold, forever and ever.
In September 2025, Corden and Jones announced a new Apple TV Plus series called The Choir, an 8-episode drama about a man who returns home after years away to reconnect with an estranged family. As of early 2026, the series has not yet gone into production. Filming is expected to begin sometime during the year. Corden had one of the most recognizable careers in modern entertainment, a career built on the idea that everyone liked him, that celebrities wanted to be in his car, that audiences wanted to tune in to see what he did next. But in the end, it wasn't one moment that took him down. There was no scandal big enough to end his career, no headline that forced him out, just a growing feeling shared by the industry, the audience, and the people around him that they didn't want him anymore.